This week on the Climbing the Summit podcast, I have a friend and a fellow Supercoach Academy graduate named Rob Cook join us for the podcast. If you are someone who has listened multiple times and you've heard the Rob Cook podcast in the past, you already know what a treat this is. So if you are somebody new to the game, somebody who hasn't been on the Climbing Your Summit podcast, we are going to get deep into what it is like to climb your personal summit with my boy Rob Cook. His big thing right now is life after trauma. He was in the military, and while he was in the military, he saw all kinds of crazy things, a few things that we get into in this podcast. And because of that, and because of his ultimate mission, he has decided that he has several different avenues that he can help other people who have went through and are going through trauma. So if you are somebody that is going through any type of trauma at all, whether you know it or not, this podcast is for you. I hope you enjoy this time that me and Rob spend together, and I hope it is beneficial and uplifting to your life.
Rob Cook, how are you, my friend? My girl gave me an interesting topic because I was telling her about
how we're recording. I can say anything, okay?
So, like my girl, man, we're talking, we're chatting, and I'm telling her, I'm like, yo, I'm getting on the call with Rob. He always gives me gems, always gives me the insights, always gives me the goods. And I'm actually using this as a platform, a jumping point to start going after those big dogs. And she's like, that should be the title of your podcast, Going for the Big Dogs. And what I mean is in my life, bro, it's always been like, I talked to Martin the other day, and we were talking about how there's like this pyramid, right? And it's like, I can't go for the next level on the pyramid until I've conquered or mastered this level on the pyramid. And so, you know, like I always stick real close to the vest. If I know you real well, I know you got something going on in the world, I'm definitely going to put you on the podcast. But what I haven't done is I hadn't reached out to the Dick and Bettagers. I hadn't reached out to the Michael Neals, Stams. I hadn't reached out to some of those names. And it was just like, I woke up the other day, Rob, and was like, yo, I am a conversationalist. I am interested to know what that other person knows. That's what I want to know. And so that's why we sitting down today, bro, is you have multiple podcasts creating impact.
Yeah,
is that one still going?
Yeah. Life after trauma, creating impact. It's the same. It just how I kind of, it depends on what the conversation goes. Like if the more conversation is after the hope, after that person got through what it was bad, then it's a creating impact. And we're talking more about what they do in business. Same channel line, though. You'll get it at the same place. But knowing if it's a life after trauma title versus a creating impact title just tells you what level the conversation took more of. That's all. So it's not even really something to grow as far as be known for, in a sense. It's just a bunch of different stories and conversations, like non-spiritual leaders to spiritual leaders from other communities and shit like that. Like it's everybody. So that one's our plan. I just met this lady, but that one I'm going to have on there a real POW from the Vietnam War. Yeah, he's 90, he's 92, and I met somebody who knew somebody and they liked my story. And so that, trying to connect and meet and get through the barriers of people who got to protect him, rightfully so. I'll put that on there too. So that one's just about anything, man, honestly. But the we're listening, that one's focused. That one's for coaches.
What is that focused on, Rob? Tell me.
Mostly it's focused on sharing a understanding, which is at the heart of my work. Most known in the world is what we call the inside out understanding. Some people know it as the 3 principles. But really that podcast is interviewing people who are very familiar with that understanding or new to that understanding. And we go through the effects of it on them personally and what it's been able to do for in their lives. How did they get better with it? What was the what were the things, the markers of results, or what was the change you could see? I mean, in a sense, what was your summit? Just to make it on topic in a sense, what was your summit? And so people share their personal journey stories, share their business stuff. But again, from the lens of most of them are already deciding to go out in the world and help. So a lot of times we're also talking about clients that they have and what their clients are seeing as a result of the understanding. But yeah, it's more focused on getting people to hear a message.
Yeah.
The other ones are just fun, man, just conversations, and you'll hear a message in all of it, because I think that's possible. That's all that's possible once you sit two people down. But yeah, that one I love.
Man,
love, but that I love. I mean,
that one hits you a little bit different than the other one, huh?
Yeah. Well, it was my first. So you never forget your first. Well, literally, I have. But anyway, you get it. But but wait, who? Now I'm over here wanting to remember my first. Get back on topic, Rob. Come on. What was I saying?
You tell us about your first. Who was your first?
The first, yeah. Oh no, I wasn't. My first podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
We're Listening was probably supposed to be about 20-25 episodes.
Uh-huh.
And it was just what had happened was the community. I sit on the board of a nonprofit, and that board had a listening group, and the listening group was for people of minorities or people of color or things like that. Where they owned not being as inclusive as they could be. And so there was a couple months of conversations with different teachers, facilitators, and people of color that just were beautiful to see. Like I learned so much about, and I've been Black my whole life, but I learned so much about how different the Black experience is for everybody. And that was very cool to see, because I often dismiss certain perspectives of life just because I knew I was Black and I felt like I knew the entire experience. So when you hear, certain things from Blacks, you go, oh my God, man, I could totally see how you wrapped that. I could totally see how you got there. And then I'm looking at some people that I probably, without knowing their background, would have been in conflict with. You catch us on the streets or somewhere, And it was pretty cool to see, like, again, I mean, separate realities, but to see there's so many variances to the Black experience that even there, I need to be listening. You know what I mean? Even there, I don't need to be trying to dominate saying I know, because I'm just speaking for me, given how different it is. Yeah, there are some similarities in there, but it was cool to see the variances of it, the beauty in all of it. And from there, I was just going to keep doing that. I was like, I loved how that felt. Can I do it with a few more people? And I was going to give it to him as a product. And then I fell in love with it, man. Like the first conversation, then the second one, third one, I was like, I could do this. And then it was so weird because everybody I was seeing doing podcasts at the time, they were like having 12 and then a season. And then they like in a season 3. And I'm like, seasons? What? Like, I just want to do it. Like, I ain't, so I just kept my head down, man. And every week, just conversation. And I think I probably looked up really, really and paid attention to it when it wasn't hard anymore. Probably about episode 30 or 40. It wasn't no work in it at all after that.
It wasn't hard.
Hard. Like, questions gone. Like I went from being the rapper who had to write down every lyric. It was just going in the studio, hit the mic, hit the button, let me ride. It felt like I didn't need none of that.
What was the thing that changed in there? Like if you like go back and you like really like kind of look at it a little bit, what do you think, or what do you see now with a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of time on that?
Well, and again, keeping it on theme of of your show, it was when I came back to base camp. When I just, like, I do an episode, I edit it, I release it, I get the feedback. Yeah. Well, I would go to base camp with that. What does that mean? I would see what the comments talked more about. I would hear what people say back that resonated with them. I've even told some people have sent me like, hey, I didn't really hear your voice that much. You kind of let the guests talk too much. Like, I want to hear you kind of thing. You know, I get messages like that, you know? Or yes. I'll get somebody be like, hey, need an update on you. I call them man behind the mics. When I do one myself and it's me as the guest, it's the man behind the mic, you know, get to know me a little bit. And so I usually do one of those every quarter or so to update what's going on in my mind, what I'm working on, you know, so people stay connected. But yeah, and I start using that. And then I start seeing which questions make the conversation flow better and which questions were they start getting sticky, hard for me to explain. By 80, episode 80, I could see I was using a paragraph to ask a question. It was like, all right, so I want to ask you a question, right? It's like all of that buildup was like, Danny, what's that character behind you I see on the shelf? You know what I mean?
It was that simple.
Yeah, it's that simple, exactly. But I needed like, okay, all right, Danny, the room that you in right now, like I know that's your spot and where you at, and you got your stuff. I could see stuff around, and I'm just wondering, you know, I'm trying to figure out, man, you know, like bro, you know, I don't even know how to. Let me see the words I'm trying to come up with, man. Like, what's that character behind you? You see what I mean? Like all of that. To just ask about the character, because that's what we think we need to do. That's the entertainment piece that I was causing me like this, like, I don't feel good about this because I'm feeling like I could feel this with something powerful. You know, I don't need this filibustering, this air sense in a sense of entertainment. Like I don't need that. You know what I mean? Like
I feel that, yeah.
So get to the point. Like stop wasting people's time. Get to the point, you know?
Yeah, man. So this is one of the many things that I know that you're doing. You're doing this. I know that you're, like you said, you're on the board of the 3P. I know you're doing so many different things. What's the ultimate goal, the ultimate summit? Because I know this, Rob, that these are all channels to your ultimate summit. What is that?
Yeah. My ultimate summit, big vision, if I had my way, would be to end human suffering. And so I've kind of added a caveat, but I think to love the world, regardless of what it looks like. Like I really want to love the world unconditionally. And right now there are areas that there are conditions that apply. And I know those are all mine, but I just want, I want to try that way.
Like what are some of those?
Child abuse is one. Child abuse is very, very charged for me. That abuse of anybody, honestly, in a sense, abuse, like physically harming, things like that. Doing it to animals is starting to become a huge deal for me now. I had a lizard fall down the fireplace. So he was on the other side on the thing. And I was like, if I pull this screen out, homie gonna jump, the dog's gonna trip. So I was like, I gotta tire him out, you know? So I waited. We waited a whole day. And so you can kind of tell he was a little more lazy, a little more laxed, and moved the dogs to the back and took the screen out and let him jump off and, you know, run back to the thing. But it's like, I've been blessed to get this far in a sense. So I just want to do it a different way. Like, I just want to try climbing this mountain through loving the world and through including and and listening and not believing I know it all. Like, cause that was the first 37 or 38 for me. Like I'm gonna go. We're gonna go. You know, I felt like we're gonna fight to the death if I need to on, you know, my opinions, beliefs, and perspectives were the truth. And you needed to understand that. And if you weren't willing to understand them, I was willing to force you to understand that. You know, that's that military in a sense. And I just noticed how much of that never worked. So for me, being one of the biggest bigots that walk the earth, being one of the most hateful people that walk the earth, being one of the nastiest, most insecure human beings walking, to now have been blessed enough to love myself and love life, I think anybody could feel it. And so I know how shitty it felt then. So I'm spending my days like the alarm, like, no, check. You can, bro, like, listen, you can forgive yourself. You can make amends with yourself. You can have a life after trauma, you know, like, that's the big summit for me, bro. Like, just, again, being such a shitty person to now really loving the experience of life. I know it's possible. I ain't even believing it no more. Like, it's not even a belief. This shit I know now. Like, so, yeah, that's the move for me.
What does it feel like knowing? So here we go with a little long explanation to the question. But I was reading Sid Banks the other day, The Second Chance, and you know, Jonathan's telling, you know, the guy about seeing versus seeing, and knowing is different than seeing, but I hear the energy behind what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so what is that? How has that changed your experience?
Oh man, it's simple. A belief for me is up for grabs. Meaning a belief just means that's the limit in where my understanding has reached. So I am taking this as truth. But you show me something, I have to extend my level of understanding. And so that belief goes away. So beliefs are up for grabs for me. Like, again, they're just where I met my threshold of understanding. The things I know, like, I know there's going to be air when I walk out my house. Hell, when I wake up in my house. So I just breathe with no thought whatsoever, right? I believe my business is going to produce enough money at the end of the month to pay everything it's required to pay. And because I believe that, I feel like there's things I need to do to make that happen. So I put a lot of thought into my beliefs. Shit, okay, market. I'm believing this, that. And then when it happens, that reinforce my belief that marketing and social media posting and talking to people makes that come through. But when I'm believing it, there's still something to do. When I know it, it's second nature, first nature, really. It ain't nothing. I just breathe.
The simplicity behind what you're saying, it captivates me, because the reason we're on this podcast, the reason why I'm in the direction that I'm actually going in is because of the difference between what you're saying, waking up and just breathing, and then having all these things that need to happen and occur for me to be in the world.
Yeah.
And so to get on, so I would make up things, Rob. Like, oh yeah, I can't talk to this person because I don't have enough followers. You know what? People want to talk about what they want to talk about. I promise to God they do. And so I just been bro. I've been on Instagram every day, because that's where, like, I reach out to a lot of people every day, and I'm like, hey, would you like to, like, sit down so I can interview about X, Y, and Z? And I'm asking people I ain't never asked before, bro. Like, musicians, people. Some dude hit me up the other day. I said, I like what you got going on. Can I interview you? You know, as a way to get to know that person. And so I admire a lot of the work that you do, because you go into communities that I had never heard of, bro, in different countries, different parts of the United States, for that matter. And What was it like? And I know you're talking about earlier your first. I know earlier you were talking about your first podcast. But what was it like going into some of those communities after that first 25 where you were like, hey, this is what we were signed up to do?
Yeah, that was very much a learning curve in itself as well, because I began to see so much of the community. Well, I mean, the diverse group of people let me see a lot of the world. Like there were episodes where people are in countries now that I'm interviewing and talking to them to that I had labeled in my mind for decades. They were enemies of the state.
Wow.
Because these were countries we went to do military operations. And here I'm hearing somebody express how much they love their country and they're growing up. And I'm like, bro, last time I was there, I was almost in a shootout. What is you talking about? Like, it was these weird experiences I was having with just the world. Like, and it was just teaching me so much about myself, man. So much. I could see my biases where they flare up. I could see my prejudices just flare up, you know, in the storylines and things. And it was like, oh wow. Like, again, back to Big Summit, I gotta first do this within me because I'm a mess over here, you know? So everything is funny you say, and a lot of people say this, like I do a lot. Right? They say, man, you do a lot. And I really think I don't, because all of the places you may find me, I'm doing the same thing, trying to learn. Like, so for me, it's never any different. The room I walk in, so I walk in as a podcast host. I walk in as a person being interviewed on the podcast. I walk a teacher, speaker, facilitator, father, husband, dog owner. Got that door, yeah, okay, cool. That's the doorway I get to show it, but I'm only showing the same thing. So it ain't really that much.
So
Like,
is this where, sorry for cutting you off, bro, but like,
no, go. This your show.
Like, is this where life after trauma, like, is that how that was kind of born?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I could hear the trauma in exploring the world via podcast and going into these areas and being like, I was supposed to kill people over there. Y'all are you are the enemy. And like, I'm talking to you and you just
laughing. We just loving each other. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that, because look, I've known you long enough to know the iterations of the impacts. You know, look, some of these different things that you've done, and to hear how they have all come together like trauma, like it's what all I want to say here. This is what I want to say. Trauma for you is like, have you talked to Dave lately?
Which Dave? Sean? No, not.
Okay.
I sent somebody to him probably about 2 weeks ago, but
perfect. I'm glad I get to tell you this. So
I could.
So Dave went through his 6 weeks shine space. And every week after he got off, we get on the phone. Bro, clarity. Because he talking to 6 other people and they all working as a team. You've went through this similar experience, and I hope to ask you about that in a separate question here in just a second. But when all this went from like, oh, I got to do something about it, to just breath, I was like, Dave, I'm recording a call this week when you call me. We got on a call. And the thing that he's been crystal clear on is commitment. He's like, bro, you just not committing to everything and everyone. That's his thing. And you know how he is. So he in it now. He's like, but have you committed to that? And I'm like, you know how it is when somebody really feeling it and you hearing it and you like, I agree, bro. And it's like, but the word commitment, bro. And so it's this great experience. But trauma for you is like that. So now let me actually get to the question here. Is What does that feel like inside of you when you go from all of these different iterations to the thing that feels like it sums up everything you've been doing at once?
Yeah. Well, the first thing it felt like was it made it easier to coach anybody. Made it, when I say easy, it became breathing.
Yes.
Because now I finally saw it. I'd finally connected all the dots. The story makes sense. I understand it all. And so it made coaching easy. And a large part of that, a little bit more detail, is that I could start seeing underneath the messages I was getting. So I sit down with the client and they would get emotional. And so I jump at the emotion. Right. And then I was okay. Because I knew emotion meant something, but I was using it wrong before because I was believing this is what you're supposed to do. Somebody cries, I believe you should talk about that and get through. No, BS. I started seeing underneath that when I'm in a session and emotions, it's nothing that's required because all that's communicating to me is the ground is now softening. The ground is softening. So why would I get off track on looking up at the rain? You know, the ground is softening. I'm about to love. That means what they're getting to the limit, or they're at the limit of their understanding, and they've just gave me permission to go further.
Yes.
They're terrified. That's what I hear their narrative. I hear the narrative, but what I'm seeing underneath it is, okay, Rob, I'm at the end. If you saying this is where I'm supposed to jump, this is where I'm gonna need you right here, because this look real true to me. If we need to climb the summit, Rob, if you saying climb the summit from this point, like I need you here with me because you my coach, you my guide. I'm ready to go. That's what they're saying. And so it helped me stop getting caught up in the narratives. Like there is no need for me to qualify or quantify anyone's trauma. Whether mine came from bombs exploding or guns being shot or whatever violence I was subject to as a youth in the inner city, that does not matter to a woman who was sexually assaulted. The feelings in which our body physiologically had when facing those experiences, what I'm addressing. It fucking sucked.
Yeah.
We both felt like we were going to die. We both felt like this was the end. We both felt like something of humanity has forsaken me at this moment. Almost like, why are you leaving me, God, in a sense? That's what she felt. That's what I felt. Yeah. So I don't need the narrative anymore.
Yes.
That's why it's so life after trauma clicks for me so simple. I don't need the narrative.
It sounds to me like what you're saying, bro, is Sid Banks. Oh, here we go with this guy. He said the only way that you see truth is, or the only way to see truth, I believe that is you either hear truth or you get in a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And for so long, I hear what you said because they're podcasting. It's like, I got to get the right question. I got to get it just the right way. But ultimately, what it's about is, if we can get in that good feeling, if we can get in that good space, who cares?
Yeah.
What we're saying.
They ain't even listening to us anyway. So yeah.
They in the feeling, bro. They in the feeling. And if that's what this is, and that's so beautiful, man, to hear that your summit is being guided by a feeling.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, I got that. I wanna do the big thing. But if the feeling ain't right, that ain't the way.
Yeah.
Man, that's gotta be so freeing.
Oh yeah. The freedom at times shows up and tell me I'm numb. And it's because it's no weight. So at times, my thoughts go, "Oh, you're just numb to the world," and I giggle. I mean, come on, bro. That's what you got. That's what you throw to make me put this weight back on my back. That's the one you throw. That I'm numb. Come on, man. Get out of here. Get out of my face, man. Like, wow. Yeah, because it's so freeing, bro. It's so freeing to live this way. Again, maybe not again, because I don't know if I've said it before, but I do have to set a clear caveat when I talk like this. That does not mean I don't go through shit.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I got one dog bleeding in the stool. I had another dog with an abscess in the mouth. My daughter's graduating, so we have some financial things coming up that I believe I'm gonna have the money to make that happen. So I'm doing a whole lot of thinking with it. You know what I'm saying? Wife got hit by a truck, ran a stop sign, hit her car, had to get that. So life is lifing. You feel me? Like life is happening around me. That's happening. But even in those, as a freedom to show up to the accident site, grab, she's okay, got it, next, check. Like it's a flow to not grabbing on to anything that's unnecessary to hold, right? Like she knew I was there to support and that I loved her and she was okay. Next, I went into how to get life back regular. We need a rental. We need a car. We need this. I'll handle the connections with the company and the truck was on a company truck. So I had to deal with the owner of the company. But you're good. That's the support. Well, dealing with them, I'm like, I understand what running a business is like. You know, it was just so easy. It's so easy. So much so that the cop who responded saw me walking out the corner shop store. I walk in the corner store, grab a zero, Gatorade Zero, and as I'm coming out, she like, "Yeah, I know you." I'm like, when the police go, hey, they know you. It's like, oh, shit, you know? And I'm like, oh yeah, you responded to the thing. Next thing you know, bro, we talking about school shootings, mass shootings, everything. She was like, oh, that's a good. Wait, were you a cop? I was like, long time ago, former life, blah, 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 you know, all that. But yeah, man, it's just this freedom to life.
Is that in your wheelhouse to talk about mass shootings and what's going on in America there?
Yeah. It's one of those things again where having dropped the pack, nothing is off limits. Like they spent millions to teach me what I know about protecting people, places, and things. Again, my goal in Big Summit in human suffering, why wouldn't I use it? Like millions. I've trained with not every, but a lot of the Department of Homeland Security. I've trained with Secret Service. I've trained with Department of Justice. I've trained with DOD, you know, like high level exercises to protect, you know, people. I've ran teams to do it. So why wouldn't I use it now? Because in my mind, our approach to mass shootings, in a sense, is done outside in. But what if I equip those who will be the victims? Right? So what if I get in and run drills?
Before you go, what do you mean by outside in? I get it, but I want to make sure about that.
Outside in means that we're using our resources to try to gain what somebody who's not in their right state of mind is going to do. So you're setting up your defenses off an unstable mindset. You have no clue what the unstable mindset's going to do. And the unstable mindset comes from inside. So if you put chains on the doors, outside in mindset came from that. I know you got chains on the doors.
I know you got it.
Oh, so when I think of my mass shooting, I will have already thought about chains on the doors.
Man, can I tell you something real interesting that I heard, and it just sits funny with me hearing it, man. I'm gonna tell you anyway. I don't know why I asked you if I could tell you. I'm gonna tell you anyway. It was the link between mass shootings and incarceration in our country, and the dude was like, "It's not what you think. It's we're having all these mass shootings so that we can make our schools look like prisons, and our students are basically reformed prisoners before they even get out of school."
I personally try my best to stay away from the politics of situations. And the reason I say that is because I know politics has its own game and agenda. Right? It's got that's the nature of it. Right. And so being a military member, when someone was coming at us, they weren't coming at us and going, all right, before we shoot at y'all, before we send these mortars over the fence, are y'all the Republican troops or the Democratic troops? Which are y'all the ones for guns or not for guns? Which so we could separate y'all and only kill the one. They didn't do that. They came after all our heads. And I say that to say, so for me, I didn't fight for one side of the system. I fought for the whole system together to work collectively. Yeah. I fought for bipartisanship. I fought for your right. I don't get to choose how you use your right. I fought just that you have it. So did I agree with people storming the Capitol? No. No, I didn't agree with it personally. But I fought for the right for you to feel like if your country was being stolen, you can ride like that.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it kind of validated that at least what I'm over here losing friends for is true. Because they let you riot. That's your right. They let you do it.
Yeah.
So at least what I'm saying is true. When it happened with George Floyd, we rioted. They was, I mean, not that was all that was done, but yeah, but that's how they showed their right. Okay. That's all I fought for. The right, not how you use it. Again, I'm a human being. So of course I got those biases and judgments in my head of what's right, what's wrong, but ain't no truth to it. Honestly, at the end of the day, I ain't no truth to it. I'll say this one. One of the most freeing things for me, man, was a fight I got into with my little brother. So my little brother so my dad has kids with different ladies, but this particular younger brother, we have same mom, same dad. And I helped make him into an animal, being scared when I was leaving the military because he was such a nice kid. So I created a monster in hopes that he could protect himself once I left the neighborhood to go into the military because he was younger than me, right? And he became a monster. Like he Frankensteined out. He scared me. Like, just to be honest, he scared me, and I created him in a sense.
Yeah.
But I remember this one time, man. This was probably about 3-4 years ago. We had been beefing on all kind of levels with me trying to dad him, and I'm his big brother and hold him accountable, all this stuff. We just always end up arguing. I loved him. I knew he loved me, but we always got in this kind of like big time argument because of his lifestyle. So I thought. So every time he's ever moved back, in a sense, with my mom, her house gets robbed because he's a street cat. You know what I'm saying? So they looking for it in his house. He's a hitter, man. When you see him, like he draped, he clean, he just a different cat, right? And I love him though, right? Yeah. But we got two different lifestyles. And I remember one time, and I was at visiting back where I grew up home, and my pops was in the back seat, and my brother driving, and he wants to get gas, on a side of town we grew up in that ain't that good. And I'm like, we're about to go to another area. Can we just wait 5 minutes and get gas over there? You know what I mean? So I'm tripping. I'm in my head on it. And he was like, the Glock is in the glove compartment. He was like, up under my seat. He said, that's the smoke. you know, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, man, I know all that, bro. Just go get the stuff in the stove. Like I'm in my head, right? And I turned that into a huge argument. Why you got these guns, bro? Why you this? I mean, I'm just yakking at it. My little brother was like, because you the only one been trained to kill.
He hit you with a whop.
Why wouldn't I give you the guns?
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, exactly. He was like, you've been trained to kill niggas. Like they spent money on teaching you how to do this. And it was the first time I looked at our lives as so parallel. He grew up inner city, drug gang ridden. So that was his jungle. That was his deployment. It was just where he lived. And he carried guns daily to protect himself. I was a soldier, so that was good carrying a gun, right? But I'm going up in people's countries like he running up in folks' houses.
That's a different level of sight.
On my own interest, on his interest of self-preservation, and what they fed me is my country's interest of self-preservation. I got to come up in your country and force you into a way of life that is not natural to you in the interest of my country. He's running up in folks' houses, taking their valuables because he need money to continue the process of what he's doing to feed his kids. What's the difference in that? Ain't no good or wrong. Like that, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't good. He wasn't bad. We was the same.
Yeah.
The narratives didn't matter anymore. So at that point, I could see my little brother for I could see his cries for help. The anger didn't pot with me. You know what I mean? The anger didn't mean shit anymore to me. When he got mad or when it was like, oh man, got it. I got it, bro. I've been trying to be your dad and I've been your brother. I'm way out of pocket anyway. You were never gonna hear me because I ain't your dad. Pop's in the back seat, laughing. you feel like he know what's up. Laughing in the back seat the whole time.
Yeah, wow.
So when I got in my lane, which was be his big brother, we really started talking, and we got to the point, conversations grew, man, where he was like, yo, I probably can pull some of these guns out the car. But here's what's funny. Now I'm asking him, well, is that safe? You do live in a harsh environment. Like now you come out pulling the guns out, and here I go, being like, wait a minute, let's make sure it's okay now because it's clean. It's like you do live in a spot where you need, a pistol or something. Like, don't. He was like, oh, yeah, well, I'll keep the pistol because I do have my concealed weapon legally. Like, I'm like, all right, be legal about it. You feel me? Like, so yeah, man, that's the kind of stuff that this freedom allows me to have. And now I have my brother. Like, I have him. Yeah. Like, he knows he could call me. And that's a place where I've had to remove biases, judgments, again, just to make it full circle of what I thought being a gangster or not a good dude looks like. Because I can see his heart now. You know, I can see it. I can understand. And I heard more of the story. Like, I never knew. I thought I created the monster. No. The monster was created with the path he had to walk out, because I didn't know that adults were saying stuff to him like, are you sure you Rob's brother?
Why were they saying that?
Because of the way he acted. Because he wasn't as charismatic as I was. He wasn't as quick with the tongue as I was. So he got looked at as less than, because again, at that point, I'm out of the city now. And to get out of the city is the prize.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, your brother got out. You ain't getting out. Like, looking at him like, no, you ain't meeting the mark. Yeah. And so he had to live in that shadow with that. But he knew, my brother turned me into this. Y'all didn't know him. You see what I'm saying? He knew They knew Rob, who I got to keep everybody off. They knew image Rob. Clean cut. I got to go to school. I got to do my grade. I got to, he knew me and Ryan over here chopping up weed, trying to smoke and sell some weed for my cousin. Like, that's what he knew.
Yeah.
Like, again, I don't want to profess like I was some big time gangster. No, I was squirmish with it. I only would do a little bit of gang activity, just enough to get the minimum check mark of being gang member. That kept me. You know what I'm saying? That was math.
Yeah.
I fight y'all once and we squad, or I got to fight y'all every day of my life. That just don't make good sense.
Yeah. That is a long journey, bro. Like that, they talk about starting from the bottom and now we're here. Like, that's it, man. I've known you long enough to know that you've grown up in the streets in a way, and then to now know, look, he living in, I don't want to tell where, but like Malibu, we'll just put that on there. So whatever that means, just so like,
it don't mean nothing. It don't mean nothing.
Come on, man. I've seen the movies.
Man,
I've seen the movies, bro. I've seen them. I've been out there. Also, but on the cool though, like Rob goes into prisons now. He's talking to people about these things in prison. So what I do know about him is when he says life is living and that is what it is, and he's talking about so much more. And I'm glad that he's putting these like caveats in here and these little interesting nuggets about where he's come from, because I don't know that he often puts this on his own podcast. Like that's not the focus of his podcast. Exactly. And so to know that on this side of it, to know like where you've come from and how putting these things together and going into these different places and going around the world, man, how crazy that must seem, like almost in a way from somebody who like grew up in the streets. Then, I mean, I get it. You went into the military, you went into the service, and you saw different countries, and that's in itself is one thing, but to then get out and now be speaking to those same countries, but in this vibration of love and understanding, like that is the ultimate summit, bro. And it's just cool to see you on the journey. It's cool to see how you've interacted and incorporated your own base camp, and how that has what really informed you moving to your next summit, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder, man, like how will you know when you've gotten there?
I'm there.
Ooh.
I'm there. And what's so interesting about it is, and the reason I say I'm there is because my summit didn't start when I woke up to this. My summit started years ago, and my base camps just so happened to be reference point other people set for me. Like, I knew this was going to happen because I'll get a little preachy here to use old Baptist terminology, because that was how it was said to me. But my uncle's a pastor, my aunt's a pastor, my godmother's a pastor. Growing up my mom's been head usher for way too long. I'm just gonna say that. She's been the head usher for way too long. But so I grew up with the very hardcore religious upbringing, in a sense, very strict in culture. But my aunts used to tell me when I would get in trouble and do the other stuff, like, baby, you're gonna figure this out. And when you figure it out, it's gonna be like, you're gonna kill it. You're gonna teach everybody how it's working there. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm getting suspended from school on the regular. Only reason I'm running to my aunts is just because they ain't got nothing bad to say when I get in trouble. I've never, from my 3 aunts, my dad's sisters, I've never heard a negative comment. Now, I don't know what they probably said when I left and went home, like, that boy driving us crazy. But what I felt from them is not one negative comment. So that was my base camp for a long time. is, okay, I love my aunts. I trust them. They know, okay. The other ones came along as far as mentors, but even my biggest downfall was prophets to me. Literally, my pastor's wife pulled me to the side about 2 years before I fell into the biggest pit of my life. And she told me, if I didn't change my lust, if I didn't change the way I was approaching and dealing and handling with women, that my life would significantly change. Ooh, boy, was she right. And so, again, in my darkest moments, I didn't feel like I was alone because somebody told me this was coming. So that's kind of what's starting to happen now is I people are making mention to what I'm doing, but to me, I can't see it any other way because they said this long time ago. Like, so I actually feel like behind. So that's why I don't see it as a big, like, I'm like, man, if I'd have heard my aunts when I was that age, what I would be impacting and how would I be doing? Like, if I really would have listened to her, what would I be doing? So for me, it's like, there's been points along my life, man, where this has been said, this is how it's going to go. I just believe it now. Believe, which means that's the limit of what I don't know it fully yet. You know what I'm saying? So I still get caught up too. But it's the limit of where my knowing is now that I am here to express to the world what I found.
Yeah. Yo, man, let's get into this woman subject just a little bit, and I speak to these young men, man. Just like if you were the guy they had to hear, they just like happenstance across by it, man. Like, bruh,
I mean,
the sauce.
What I would say to the men, and this is even, we won't even have to get into women, but look at what you're using to govern your perception of women. And for me, my lack of respect was steeped in the fact that I really bought into that something about the number of women I could sleep with meant that I was some type of conqueror, some type of warrior, and that made me a better man. Like I literally thought somebody was keeping the point system, tallying it up, almost like a credit score. Like you got your credit score, and then you got your how many women you've done score. And they both weighed just as much impact in my existence, and that was BS. That was the first thing. That was BS. But I believed it. And so in believing it, I tried to sleep with as many women as I could. Mm-hmm. And that was so I won't say it was detrimental to the cause. And what I mean by that is because a lot of people got hurt along the way in that.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
To include myself.
Yes.
You know, it started to hurt that I was asking people to lower their standards to be with me for just a brief moment so I can get off.
Yeah.
Like it started feeling nasty to even ask somebody. Like even seeing that when trying to convince a woman at some point is manipulation in a sense. You know, it's just, no, I just want to be a good guy. And if she sees that, the attraction and the things will be as such. But trying to show her my good and keep my dirty over here until she's hooked in, and then I jump the dirty on her and then tell her she got to love me. And then, come on, man, that's bait and switch.
Bro,
that's what we've been taught.
That was it. Like right in the 90s, I was talking to my girl about this the other day, where she was like 2014. That's when things started to switch. I was like, how you know that? She was like, I don't know. That's when it did. But but it's very fascinating because, bro, I was right there too. It was like, how many women? And nobody is saying this.
Nobody.
But there's just this like feeling of that's how we as men are supposed to operate,
Well,
especially
it was
when
in
we're
every
younger.
video. It was in every
Oh,
video.
tent drill.
Yeah, it was glorified with who we considered to be the heroes.
That's true. That is very true. And that's what I hope to God, please allow yourself as a man not to get, like Rob was saying, there's that complex of, hey, I have to dominate these women. I have to dominate whatever it is. That is trash.
Trash.
Like, figure out why it is in your own mind that you feel that way. Like, I don't want to tell you too much of what to do. You do what you want to do, because I made my mistakes too. Like, I'm right there with it. And like, I'm so close to 18 with them. I'm so close. And I had a different experience with my kids than you. So, but I'm thankful that you're saying this, man, because I mean, yes, my dad said it, but listening to my
I say
dad,
it differently. Yeah. But again, as I always do, here's the distinction. Men feel they have to dominate women because we know how much we need them. We know how much we need them. And so when I'm trying to dominate and control, I'm really just trying to keep you because I really need you. Like, I really am better with you when I'm partnered with you, when I'm union. I don't know how to say that, though. I don't know how to say that. Again, underneath the noise, underneath the actions, I could really hear the intent of what I'm saying, right? So to that guy that feels he has to dominate and control, I promise you, if you just say, hey, I love you and I'm scared to lose you, that woman's going to light up in a way that you ain't got to worry about nothing, bruh.
Oh, Rob. Oh, God. So this is it. Oh, this has happened, right? This has just happened in my life. So I'm like lit up about it, right? So if you go back into the repertoire of everything, there's going to be multiple podcasts with Rob. You need to check those out. Something else you will find is an episode about burnt toast. And I got a couple shorts about that where my wife burnt some toast. And the first time she did it, I lost my stuff, bro. It was just learned about this understanding, right? The inside out understanding. My wife burned some toast again, and I was like lit for half a second and walked outside and was lit outside instead of inside, right? And I called my homeboy. I called Jason up. Jason, man, wife, man, burnt this toast. I'm trying not to get upset about it because it ain't nothing to be upset about. Da-da-da-da-da. Bro, it was like 2 weeks ago. She put some eggs on and she left the room. And I'm just like next to it. And I just get the eggs. And I just finished cooking the eggs, bro. And then I poured the eggs out on the plate. Didn't say nothing. Me and Courtney are talking and she goes, that's it. That's progress. I said, what you talking about? She's like, you definitely could have said something to me about these eggs and you didn't. I was like, oh, that's how change occurs, right? Like, that's how it happens. Like, the summit, the personal summit, because that was one of my summits, is not to get upset in the moment whenever my wife does something that I feel is like weird, whatever. And so what happened is like, it just happened. Boom. Woo. And one story. Here's the other story that goes right along with this, bro. And I'm so happy that I get an opportunity to tell you because I love the fact that there's so many gems being dropped in this, but B, just like, my homeboy, man. And I just love the opportunity to talk to you about these things. I was outside. I'm on the phone. Me and my partner in a fight. Not in a fight, but like some words got said. And everybody feeling a little injured. Okay. And it gets escalated. And then out of nowhere, I go, oh, I don't mean none of that. I just miss you and I want you. Yeah. I just don't know how to explain. And exactly what you're talking about, bro, where it went from, no. This is not the vibe. I am not upset. I'm not frustrated because of what's going on. I just
need you in my life. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And so to see that it's not just true for me in my life that these things are happening, occurring, but to hear and see them in yours, and to know that the people out there, you out there listening to this, it's happening in your life, whether you see it or not. And just like noticing that beauty is just, that's where the sauce is, bro.
But I don't want you to, nobody, to everyone hearing this, male or female, I don't want you to stay in anything abusive. Again, that's
please don't.
But don't stay in anything abusive. But if you could see that their control or their domination is, again, there's a healthiness of it in a sense. You know, when it's not distorted, it's saying that I love you. And then if you're the person doing the controlling, you could just say who you are because you've chosen this partner. You've chosen the teammate. Why wouldn't they know how to best protect you? Like that's bro, me and my teammate, when I was in special operations, Spooby was his name. They put us together because we were both from Alabama. And we were both from two cities in Alabama where I ain't going to his and he ain't coming to mine though. But together, we were untouchable because I really, really believed he would protect me and he knew I would do the same for him. We didn't have many personal interactions, but I knew he could shoot and he knew what I could do. And we moved, almost flawlessly together. You know, I've been in surgery rooms with him before when he got hurt. All of that. His wife used to call me the girlfriend. Like, I spend more time with him than this, right? But again, we come from two different backgrounds, right? And so that is what taught me when you have a partner, when you have somebody that you've union with, the best thing you could do, man, is share who you really are with them and let them interact with that versus interacting with that image, because that's always going to rub. Lo comes home every day, gets the groceries out the car. Soon as the dogs hit her, she forgets. So all her doors are open and the Jeep back hatch is open, right? I come out the house just like you. Got the doors and the hatch open, right? I'm like, and so I say something like, can you close all the doors and the hatch? And she was like, oh, the dogs and this. It happens again, right? Same thing like you. I'm walking out the house after she comes in on my way back to my office. And I just closed the doors on my way into the office. And I'm sitting here and I go, why did I make that a deal?
Yes.
That makes no sense. Because here's what's even crazy. We're the only house at the top of the hill. I got a gate.
Protected.
You're not getting up here unless you're supposed to be up. Like, what am I really arguing fussing about right now? That don't make no sense. It's gonna be luck of the draw if the dogs ain't roaming around. That didn't make no sense, bro.
But I want to point out to you out there that these little wins right here, noticing these little wins, they multiply. This is exactly this. What he's talking about right now is base camp, building it based on these wins. And then looking back and not having to believe or have faith in, you could just look back and see, 5 years ago, I was a literal mess.
Yeah.
I'm still a mess, but I'm way better than
I'm not that mess. Yeah. I'm art now. Yeah, that's the difference. I'm art now. Yeah. I ain't a blob. I'm art now. Like people want to see this. You know, this is art. Yeah.
That's it, bro. Hey, well, Rob, I appreciate you joining the podcast, dropping a few gems. I'm definitely going to get like a little gem sound now just for you. Just whatever it drops. It'll be like, Rob said, gem sound, or something like that. It's going to be nice, bro. So I appreciate you dropping in, taking some time, and just like chopping it up with me, man. I appreciate that.
You know, I love you, man. I do. And I was going to say it earlier, but I'll say it now. you are one of the big dogs. You are. So yeah, I just, you know how I am. Like, I can't wait till you stop believing it and know it. I'll just say it that way.
You know what? We still recording. I was gonna cut the podcast off. Y'all out there, podcast land, I want you to know this too. I woke up the other day. I don't know what happened, but I just woke up and I was like, oh, wait, okay. Let's make the connection. Me and you, Rob, were on a podcast talking about climbing a summit. Maybe we were just on the phone, and I told you I was running down this mountain when I was in Utah. You can check out the episode. I'm going to refer it to you guys so y'all know which one it is. And I was like, yo, Danny, you not really putting your real effort in, right? And I woke up and I was like, oh, bro, the reason why I'm struggling with all this is because I'm a conversationalist. Like, we talked about this a little bit when we first came in the podcast. I'm a conversationalist. And I want to know I don't care who you are. I want to know what you know. And sometimes people be like, does Danny know anything? Because he always asking questions. And people really get this like vibe of like, they really telling me something I don't know. That happens a lot. And I'd be like, I already know. In my head, I'm thinking, I already know this. But like, I love that you know this now and you speaking so clearly about it. So why not just put this kind of stuff on a podcast so people out there in the world can just like pick this stuff up and like, yeah, man, it's just like no reason to be scared of much, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they go either say yes or they gonna say no. And then if they say no, I put them in this little list, goes, da-da-da-da, said no. And then hopefully they give me a reason why they said no. Danny, we need you to get to this. Or we need you to get to this. Oh, now I got metrics that y'all want me to get to. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Right here. Boom. Here goes the micro summit right here. That's when we get there. What is a micro summit for everybody out there? That's when you hit a summit that you think is a summit. And what you find out is as soon as you turn around, there's another summit way up there just a little bit further. And you think that you had to get here, but really you got to get there. That's that micro summit. And I would love for everybody in this podcast, for y'all to know, when you hit that micro summit, celebrate, be excited, do your thing. All right, thanks, Rob. I appreciate you being here.
Love you, bro.
Keep climbing your personal summit.